All right, can y'all all see my screen?
Yes, Bryan, we can see the screen itself. Well done. Okay, so maybe from the onset, roughly today, right? Actually, how come you have thought about this topic that you want to talk about, like planning today to safeguard tomorrow? I mean, what was the thing that triggered you to come up with this content? And what will people take away from tonight?
Actually, right, what actually made me think about this, right, actually started a little bit with our own story. So actually, me and my wife, when we initially started looking at properties, right, it was very emotional. We were all buying for own stay, and we wanted to have that, oh, okay, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to retire here, that kind of idea. And subsequently, we started to realize that this might not be the right way for us, especially at our age. What we do want from our property is to be able to actually make profits from our property before we slowly upgrade or slowly move towards our financial goals. So this topic actually stems from something that me and my wife actually go through ourselves, and that's why this is something that I'm very excited to share with clients as well. And of course, what will be touched on today will also be a little bit of a teaser as to where to look at, or where myself, if I were to buy now today, where would I look at in terms of area of focus. And this is something that I've done a little bit of research on, and I think it's something interesting to share for the consumers to actually take note of.
Thank you. I think it's very clear. So without much further ado, I'm going to let Bryan kickstart for tonight. And thank you to the hundreds of people that's here tonight with us. Same thing goes, I have a group of panelists that's here to help you answer the question. Feel free to just key into the Q&A box or even in the chat group itself. We do our best on how we can support you with the answers. So, Bryan, over to you, and wishing everybody a pleasant webinar tonight.
All right. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you so much. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to all of you here. I think PropNex has been really great so far, sharing so many sessions. I think coming to almost 50 over sessions of consumer webinars. It came to a point whereby I was telling my wife, it feels like I'm a radio DJ. Infomercial or info radio DJ, whereby it feels like I'm just sharing on a daily basis, not only to consumers, but also to many of our agents, to empower them with the knowledge to really, really help their clients and value add to their clients. So I'm happy today to actually share with you all about planning today to safeguard your tomorrow. This is something that I hold very dearly to my heart, and I really, really hope that this session can help many of the consumers out there who are thinking what they should be doing or how they can enter the market from today's perspective. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to start. Okay. So I'm going to start with a question. Okay. Many a times we do not ask ourselves this question, but is it enough to just have a roof over your head? Okay, I think it's a very thought-provoking question, because that was the exact question that I asked myself. Okay, many a times when we are looking at properties, or when we started looking at properties, we tend to get very myoscopic when we want to buy our properties. Generally, what we are looking out for are things that make us comfortable, definitely number one. Number two, most Singaporeans will be very concerned about the space, proximity to parents. I think these are just the initial thought process even I myself make as a home buyer initially. All right, so just a little background. Myself and my wife, we were in a very, very centrally located area. I was staying in Boon Keng. My wife was staying in Bishan. We are very happy with those locations. So naturally, when we started to plan for our marriage, started to plan for our home, we started looking at all these areas first, generally because we wanted something near our parents so that they can help out with the kids. Okay, so after a while, after looking, is this correct? Is that a good buy for us? We started to realize something. Throughout our home search, right, we started to ask ourselves, the key question here is, today, just buying a home, is it really important? Or is there more to it than just having a roof over our head? All right. So this question popped up to me. It became hold on, it became what is a home? All right. What is a home to many people might be very, very different. Is it a house? Is it a shelter over your head? Or is it financial security? I'm just going to put it out there here. I think many a times when couples quarrel, all right, this is something that I always joke about with my clients and also with my friends. Hey, what's the number one thing couples quarrel about? Is it quarreling about because you don't have a home, or you got no roof over your head, or is it financial security? Is it always because you do not have enough? All right, so this is something that is very, very real, and I think this is something that we dare not dive too in depth with our spouse as well. Sometimes because we are afraid that we might quarrel or things like that. But I think this is something that is very real to explore. Which is more important, and what is a home? A home, is it a shelter over your head, or is it knowing that today you have a good financial security anywhere that you are staying? That is a home. Okay, so a roof over your head of good financial security, which one are you more inclined towards? Okay, so this is the key question here. And generally, after this discussion with my wife, what actually happened or what actually transpired was that we decided to be a little bit nomadic with our lifestyle, meaning to say that our plan will more be mid-term, meaning to say what we are looking at will then be something within the range of 5 to 8 years, and then we will constantly be moving to use the profits to then upgrade to a bigger house, or if possible, then use the profits for other forms of investment as well. All right. So to us, building a home is knowing that today our resting nest or our retirement nest is safe and secure, and we are able to provide for our family. All right. So let's explore this. How much do we need? For retirement itself? Sorry. So how much do we need for retirement? I think this circuit breaker, especially within this 2 months itself, it is kind of scary. We know that people out there who are actually living on a day-to-day basis or month-to-month basis, they do not have enough savings to last them beyond 6 months. This was a 1st of June article, if I'm not wrong, and it's done by an OCBC survey. So this is something that is very, very scary. And I believe many of you out there do not want to be put into this situation whereby, hey, you got not enough savings to last. So what are we trying to achieve? Many of us will ask, are we going to live month by month, or are we going to get out of that rat race and put ourselves into a position whereby we can plan for our retirement comfortably? Number one. Number two, plan for our kids' education, knowing that we can give enough to our kids for their education, and if possible, any access to buy a home in the future. All right, so this is something that has gone through many people's head, especially during this sensitive time. It feels like, hey, what we have? Do what we have really have enough when it comes to us retiring in future? All right, so I'm going to share this with you a little bit about evolution of expenses in Singapore. I'm 32 this year, and I remember going to school with just 50 cents in my pocket. I believe some of you have even experienced just 10 cents, 20 cents, but 50 cents in the past, in my school canteen, I can buy a lot of things. All right, so in 1990s itself, you can see a plate of chicken rice is only $1.20. Come year 2000, I still can remember $2 for a plate of chicken rice, and that was when I was in secondary school. A plate of chicken rice was just $2. Anything beyond that, we'll think, wow, crazy, that's expensive. All right. Now, if I can find any plate of chicken rice at $2 now, all right, in year 2020, I think this is very rare, and I believe that place will be having a long queue every day. But this itself shows inflation in terms of our expenses, and it also showcases that today our dollar value is shrinking if we are not growing our money, our investments, or we are not growing our wealth. So this is something very important to actually dive into, to really look at it meticulously and plan meticulously as to how can we move forward and how can we grow our wealth, how can we grow our portfolio. Okay, so just a little teaser. How much do we really need to retire? Let's say, for example, we retire. Let's say we retire at the age of 60, and we live till the age of 85. With a 3,000 income per month for a couple, how much savings do you need to have? All right, we actually need about close to 900,000 altogether. All right, in order for us to retire comfortably and to actually maintain our current lifestyle. All right, some of you might be thinking, 900,000, do I really need that much? I live frugally a bit. I cook at home and things like that. I think just the basic expenses alone, this is something that we really need to understand and really need to calculate ourselves. Maybe it varies from people to people, but in Singapore in general, I would say most of us would require almost this amount of living expenses, okay, for a couple. All right. So one thing I really want to share with you is asking ourselves, if let's say today, all right, what kind of property do I want to hold when I retire? All right. If I were to hold a HDB since year 1999 all the way to now, you can see that HDB prices in 1999 on average is $233,000 versus today's HDB price is actually about $415,000 averagely. So this puts us as about a 200,000 so-called profit. At the end of this 10 or 20 years, we are holding on to a 415,000 HDB flat. All right. And the next one that we want to look at are the ECs that have grown to date. All right, the EC prices in year 1999 was as low as 392. On average now, in year 2018, 2019, what were we looking at is actually a 850,000 average EC price. And of course, came year 2020, 2019, and most of our ECs were hitting prices on average of 900,000 to above $1 million already. All right, so today, if you fully pay this HDB flat and you fully pay out this EC and you leave out for the next 30 years, the value of the EC minimally will be about $1 million, all right, or $1.1 million. All right, and lastly, you can see the growth of private property. The differential itself is the largest. 1999 to date, our private property has grown from a 618,000 average to currently where we are at about $1.5 million. That is something quite crazy. All right. So today you have to think about what kind of properties do you want to retire eventually in, so that is your asset class and that is your asset retirement as well. You can then eventually cash out, buy a smaller unit or buy a smaller HDB, and you can have that excess of money for retirement. All right. So next thing that we want to see. So just again, I share with you where I am now. I'm at 32 years old. And let's say, for example, we work till 62 years old. I have an effective 30 years of opportunity. However, in terms of property cycles, I probably will look at about 4 to 5 cycles thereabout if I am being conservative. About 5 to 8 years duration for each of my holding. I should be looking at about 4 to 5 year cycle. 4 to 5 cycles. Okay. So at 62 years old, if I want to retire comfortably, this is exactly what I need to be doing, which is really investing and really putting my money to grow in that 4 to 5 cycles, so that when comes 62, all right, my plan is very simple. If I can retire in a HDB flat, fully paid, and after which, having the money that I made from my private property investment over the years, all right, I should be able to retire in comfort. So again, it's a personal choice. I can choose to retire in a condo, I can choose to retire in a landed, or I can choose to retire in a HDB flat. It doesn't matter. What is most important is retirement in comfort. All right. So at my age, at 32, this is where I am. The viewers at home, the consumers at home, I just want you to think about this. Look at this picture. Where are you now? How young are you? When are you going to retire? And how many years of effective opportunity do you have? All right. So this is something that I want you all to take this exercise to think through, to really ask yourself this very, very scary question. I mean, all of us are afraid of growing old, or all of us know that this is happening, but we sometimes do not face it. All right. So if every one of you at home is thinking through what we are saying, do me a favor. All right. key in 1 into the chat so that I know that you are doing this exercise with me. All right, can we do that? Anybody? 1? Very good. All right, so we can see that people is really facing this, and let's face it together, and let's see how we can work together to make sure that we are not caught in this kind of situation. All right, so next thing that we want to look at is how much do you want to have as a safe retirement? And this is something I really relate thoroughly with. It's a Chinese saying. It's a Chinese saying. I always ask my clients, I always ask my agents, and I always ask myself, do we want to do this 先甜后苦 or 先苦后甜? So what does it mean? Do we want to go through the hardship now and enjoy the fruits of our labor later on? Or do we want to take the easy way out and put ourselves in a very comfortable situation, and in the end, we suffer in the later years of our life? Which one of you do you want to be? All right, so let me pose this question out. 先甜后苦 is option number 1. All right, 先苦后甜 is option number 2. All right, so again, let me pose this question to the consumers out there. If you all want to be 先甜后苦 number 1, just key number 1. For 先苦后甜, I want you to key number 2. So do key in the comments, let me know what you guys are thinking. All right, so again, what does it mean in English? It's, do we want to enjoy and be comfortable now and suffer later? That's option 1. Do we want to put ourselves in uncomfortable situation now and to grow our wealth knowing that, yes, we have to work harder now, but we are able to retire comfortably? All right, that is the question I pose to all the consumers at home. All right, so I think we can see majority of 先甜后甜可以吗? Which means that currently, if I am comfortable, can I be comfortable later on? Subjective, but possible, depending on the way you are living. But again, glad to see that many of the consumers at home, they choose to be uncomfortable now, to work harder now, to make their money work harder for them now, and to enjoy the fruits of their labor later on in life. All right. So next, this is something very real. I think this is the golden questions that a lot of consumers are asking today. As a buyer, as a consumer, can I be buying in today's market? Is it safe for me to enter in today's market? What we want to explore is where we are today versus where we are in the past. For those consumers who have seen these slides before, pardon me, let's sit through it one more time. Let's understand again, in year 2000 all the way to year 2003, 2005, what happened to the prices here? The prices hit an all-time low, and this was a bottoming out of the prices. Let me repeat, why is this so? In year 2000, what actually hit us was actually a dot-com crash. Followed on by the dot-com crash, shortly after we were hit by SARS, in 2003 to 2005. The only happy thing I remember during that point of time is me not going to school. All right. So I pity the parents now. Even myself, my daughter is going to school, and those of you whose kids are in school now, they cannot fully enjoy not going to school because they still have to study at home or home-based learning. All right. So the times have changed. You all realize that the times have changed. In the past, when we don't need to go to school, means we don't have to do anything. But now, even without school, technology has changed. People have changed, and we have to go through this home-based learning. And this is something that I want to show you, is that throughout times, things have already started to evolve. All right. So in 2000 to 2005, we were hit with .com and SARS. And I want to share a few things, These are all uncontrolled. These are all natural disasters or natural occurrences that we have no control over. Similarly, when it hits the 2007, which is our Lehman Brothers crisis or the global financial crisis, and also the swine flu, we had no control over the crisis itself. So this is uncontrolled environment. All right, let me repeat myself, uncontrolled environment. So let us look in 2013. What happened to the prices in 2013 was when the government decides to step in. Now, notice the keyword, the government decides to step in. Now, when they started to came up with cooling measures from year 2010 onwards, they wanted to curb speculation. So come 2013, what actually happened? That was the major cooling measures that was down to everyone. What happened in 2013 was actually a really cooling effect on the entire Singapore's segment. Come 2010 itself, you can see a slew of cooling measures all the way up to 2013. And when the population white paper was released in 2013, on the right-hand side of this image infographics over here, you can see that this was where they really hammered down onto the additional buyer stamp duty, the total debt servicing ratio. I think what hit us crazy was that total debt servicing ratio and also the mortgage servicing ratio applicable to the ECA buyers. And of course, this is something that hit our industry hard. And that's why when we go back into our pricing here, you start to see that the price has dropped. All right. Now, after the slew of cooling measures, if you notice our price since then to somewhere in 2017 itself, if we were to go in, so in 2017 itself, right, after a slew of cooling measures, what happened was the price corrected itself. Transaction volume has dropped, prices has dropped slightly, the price indexes have dropped slightly, and that is where the government decided to step in. All right, in 2017, if you realize what actually happened during that period of time, there wasn't any good economical market that pushes the market to drive the market in the upward trend. No. What actually happened in 2017 was actually our removal or the tweak in seller stamp duty. All right, from the initial 4 years to then the current 3 years, this was what actually happened. So they actually tweaked the cooling measures itself, and that caused the prices to went upwards again. From 2017 onwards, if you realize, they went upward, and you see a downward trend again in 2018. That was caused by another set of cooling measures, which we will be touching on later on. All right. So in 2017, the prices cooled. When they removed this, the prices increased. Came 2017, when the government noticed an uptrend, all right, they came up with another set of cooling measures, and this time round, they went to increase the ABSD rates for foreign buyers. They went to increase the entities buying the residential properties for developers. And most importantly, I think this is something that all of us have to take note of, is the loan to value was actually reduced. Instead of the usual 80% loan that we could have taken in the past, as of 6 July 2018, our loan itself dropped to 75%, which essentially means that today as a consumer, I would need to top up 5% more for my down payment, be it in cash or CPF. All right, and this actually hit some of our property segments, but yet this is something very exciting to see. And implementation of yet this kind of measures, right, did bring our prices down slightly and did bring our volume down slightly. But what happened after, okay, was a continuous climb of our property prices. Now, this would only mean one thing. Anything that happened after this set of cooling measures and property prices are still moving in an upward trend, this would mean that the natural demand of buyers are there in the market. Henceforth, the prices are continuing in an upward trend. This is the explanation, and this is something that we can see very clearly from the purchase habits of our clients itself. Okay, so next, after knowing this, that today in a controlled environment versus an uncontrolled environment, I think it's important to take note and also be aware that today, whatever prices moving forward, I can say that the government has certain, I would say certain control over the prices. Anytime that they want, they may or may not tweak the cooling measures. All right. But of course, I think when it comes to this, many clients always ask me, hey, so Bryan, will they remove the ABSD? Will they remove this? Will they remove that? We do not know. But personally, I'm a fan of the buyer stamp duty because it controls the speculation on the market, making it, I would say that, more affordable for locals to buy. You can say that, hey, the prices are still high, but without this cooling measures, without this set of cooling measures, I think our price will be very, very similar to Hong Kong properties, which is not something that we want. All right. So naturally, when it comes to buying property, not only must you know what is happening in the market, you must ask yourself this key question: what are your plans? Sorry, pardon my grammar. What are your plans? Not what are you plans. All right. So what are your plans? And when I say plan, what do I mean? I mean today when you are looking into property purchase, okay, what's your exit strategy? What are you looking to achieve out of this property? I think many a times, like I said earlier on, most consumers, most buyers, sometimes we are very myoscopic. We only look at what we want to achieve right now, but we forgot to look at what we do want to achieve in a longer time period. And I've segmented this into three different plan types that we can look at. There are some buyers, generally, they know that they want to come in for an investment. This is really a short-term plan of 3 to 5 years. What they want to achieve is to make money from this property and then after that exit from this property. Okay, are there this sort of property? Later on, we'll explore what are the prices. Will there be any increment in the prices? Later, I'll show you one example. The next group of people is actually a mid-term plan. I would say that in general, most Singaporeans or most homeowners in Singapore generally are more inclined towards a mid-term plan. 5, 8 years, maybe maximum 10 years of holding. Why I say so? Like all kiasu Singaporeans, education for our kids is the most important. Henceforth, mid-term plan would then feed the bill of 6 years education for my child, and this itself might be in the range of about 5 to 8 to maybe maximum 10 years, like I said. And in most cases, if we ask ourselves, when we first got our own property, right, especially those who got their BTO properties, actually in the 5 years mark to 7 years mark, that is where you always consider to actually sell the property to actually upgrade because you've seen a decent profit margin from that property itself. All right. So this mid-term plan, I would say that is more inclined towards most of our Singaporean families. And lastly, this is a long-term plan. This one, we hear from some of our clients, hey, I'm going to buy this to retire one. I have no plans to sell. I want to see freehold. I want to buy something that won't depreciate in value. I think this is something very important because there are this kind of buyers out there, and this might be the kind of properties that you are looking at. So in a long-term plan, usually what we are looking at is the 10 years plan onwards. Later on, we also see what kind of properties can give you this kind of returns. All right. So one of these properties that I want to bring your attention to today is actually High Park Residence. This was launched in 2015. You can see most of the transactions that were bought. Obviously, this is just one page of the many pages of transaction there is. But I'm just drawing you this example of those who bought in 2015 and those who choose to exit in 2018 itself. Approximately 3 years duration. I just want you to focus on bought on, sold on, and the profit itself. In 3 years duration, I would say that on average, right, we can see the returns of investment or the annualized returns of investment for this group of buyers are on average 7%. Okay, so on 7% per annum, you can see that today their profit margin sits on a very healthy range, mostly exceeding 100,000 even for a smaller unit. For the bigger units, you can see the 1109 or the 1399 square feet. These homeowners in 3 years just made 355,000 thereabouts. So this again, I would say a short-term duration of 3 to 5 years plan. Again, let me remind you, not all properties can give you this kind of returns. Again, speak to any one of the PropNex consultants or speak to the PropNex agent who has invited you for this seminar. I think they were trained well to actually look into what kind of properties can give you this kind of returns as well. All right, so later on, don't worry, I will also touch on what are the key areas or what are the areas that you guys can explore to see this kind of returns. Next one we are looking at is Commonwealth Towers. Again, let me focus on the bought on and the sold on date. 5 years exit strategy. 2014 they bought, exited in 2019, 2018. Averagely, they are still making quite a decent amount. Averagely, we can see about 100 over 1,000, close to over 200,000 for certain unit types. All right. So this itself is, why am I sharing with you all this? You always have to determine what is your exit point. Knowing that today you want to buy into this property, right? You have to ask yourself, okay, I buy into this property, I might want to stay for a while. And if you want to stay for a while, this constitutes to a mid-term plan. All right. And if you have no interest in staying in that property at all, so what you want is to just make money from this property, generally you fall towards that 3 to 5 years duration, short-term planning. And the kind of property that you can buy or should be buying is the ability to make you this kind of money in a shorter period of time. Whereby those of you who are looking for own stay properties, you not only have to look at properties that can make you money, you also have to look at properties in a 5 years duration, still can hold out its pricing. So there are many key considerations, of course, pertaining to each your individual needs. Like I said, this will then, you have to work hand in hand with our PropNex consultants to be able to know what properties you should buy and what kind of plans you should take. All right. So one commonality that I can bring you to, it's both of these plans, right? Be it a 3-5 years or 5-8 years plan. Generally, most of these agents, most of these buyers, they are looking to buy brand new property with good potential upside. We all know, as Singaporeans, we all know that today, be it a BTO or be a new launch itself, we do know that no matter what happens, the newer properties will always give us good returns. All right. After many consumer seminars, after many of you who have experienced buying BTOs, buying new launch, you guys will understand that we like to buy new things. And as much as it is, right, I think Singaporeans we know that buying new things can make us money, but yet at the same time, we always compromise on emotion. Meaning to say that I think why people are still buying new properties, or rather why people are buying TOP properties, because upon TOP, generally you will see a good price jump. And why is people still buying the TOP properties is because of one keyword. The keyword here today, ladies and gentlemen, is actually convenience. Like what I shared with many of my agents, many of my consumers, is that today convenience is actually the most expensive English word in the dictionary. To buy convenience means that you're paying people the profit margin, number one. To buy convenience, it is also to mean that I need to buy somewhere that is good amenities or good MRT. You may make money. Even those that are not near MRT may make money. We have to identify the correct one. But key thing is, if we are buying convenience, generally we are paying slightly more for this attribute. Okay? So for those of you who have a longer timeline, the type of property, or rather the characteristics of the property that you want to look at, it's properties that generally when you buy in, even say you buy in a new launch, you see the high, and even if you hold out till now, you can see this is actually one Amber. This is in District 15. They bought in probably in year 2005 or early 2006. But what you can see is that today, even though they bought in at that pricing, prices have fluctuated, but even till today, those of them who bought in 2014, okay, over here, if you notice, if you all can see my cursor, in 2014 that you guys are buying here, even came 2018, all right, you can see that the prices have already increased. And you can see that the maintenance of the price, or the value retention of the prices here, is very, very healthy. You are not losing money. And not like a 99 years whereby the age of the property decay. Again, a freehold property, the main thing that we are looking at here is that value retention ability, that ability that today the prices will still go towards an upward trend. All right, so 10 years onwards, generally the property prices, or rather the property that we want to look at, must have this kind of characteristics. All right, so this is just a brief outline of generally, if you're looking at a certain plan or certain type of plan, what kind of properties can you look into further? All right. So again, of course, these are just my thoughts as well, pertaining to your specific needs. I believe the PropNex agents or the PropNex consultants who is handling your portfolio will be very well aware of how they can plan for you. All right. So next. So key question here today is, where should we focus on? We know Singapore, yes, not when we say that it's big, it's not really big. When we say that it's small, it's not really very small. But so where should we really focus on in Singapore? And we should not be distracted. Personally, again, this is a personal thing. So one key area that I look at is actually RCR, price at OCR, with the ease of access to CCR. So just in case you guys do not know the term, Our core center region, which is our CCR region, this is generally our CBD area. Moving outwards, which is the rest of core region, this is actually our city fringe property. And lastly, anything in the outskirts, those are our OCR property, all right, called the outside core region. Why am I sharing this with you is because if I move forward in the next 6 months or in the next 1.5 years, I don't foresee many launches in the OCR region anymore. Most of these launches will start to go towards the city fringe and the city center, especially in the next 6 months. All right. You start to see many launches of in the RCR region or in the CCR region. All right. So this is due to actually the en bloc cycle that was the last 2017 to now. To 2017 to 2018. The land that was bought by developers, most of them fall within all this region. Henceforth, when the launch comes, right, you realize that now our launches are moving closer towards the city area. With that being said, again, RCR pricing property at OCR prices. I think this is something very interesting. We do want to buy something that is closer to city, but yet knowing that we are not overpaying for this property. And lastly, we want to be able to know that it has the ease of access to the call center region. And this one area that I really, really want to talk about is actually the District 14 area, the Sims area, Aljunied area, the Paya area, and of course, up to Eunos area. This is District 14 in general. All right. So why these areas? Again, let us look at certain comparative. I'm using some resale properties and some new launch properties in my comparative as well. What I want to share with you is that properties like J Gateway in Jurong itself is already transacting. You can see as high as $1,800 to $1,900 per square foot. Yes, we may argue that a second CBD is there, but again, you have to understand that it is still considered an outside core region center for us. All right. Next thing that we want to look at is North Park Residences. I do have to say, when they first launched at 1,300 plus 1,400 per square foot in Yishun, all of us went crazy. Yishun, 1,300, 1,400, can buy me? Yes, this question, can buy me, basically puts us in disbelief because currently they are transacting above 1,600 as well. You can see some of the transactions. Generally, you have seen an increment in North Park Residences property prices. From my knowledge, some owners make as high as 300,000-400,000, which is quite sick. All right, if you ask me. All right, so Sengkang Grand, which is a new launch, is in the Buangkok Sengkang region, selling for about $1,600 to $1,800 per square foot. So again, these are our OCR comparative. And when we want to bring about our RCR comparative itself, we always compare those properties within the rest of core region properties. And one key thing, this Antares, this is actually located in District 14. Generally, if you see that as comparative throughout Sterling Residence, for example, Mayfair Gardens, or even Avenue South Residences as comparative, Antares is coming in at only on average 1,700. I do understand that some of these units are going for about 1,600 plus $1,700 per square foot. If you ask me whether or not it is a value buy, I would say that if you compare in the overall macro perspective of the RCR comparative, I would say that they are priced relatively well, and it's something that is very unlooked off in the area because the area has not been fully explored. All right, so again, speak to any of my PropNex agents for you all to understand more. All right, now, so what is the true value of District 14 if you ask me? If I'm looking at the map of this MRT again, of course, if you all can see my cursor, the center, of course, being our Marina Bay area, Raffles Place area, this is our core center region, this is our CBD. Now, if you start to notice, we have Sterling Residence also in the RCR region going for about $1,900 XX per square foot. I have J Gateway all the way at Jurong East going for as high as 1,800 plus on average per square foot to as high as 1,900 per square foot as well. Again, I have Mayfair Modern going for 2,000 plus dollars per square foot, and North Park going for 1,600 plus per square foot, and lastly, Sengkang going for 1,700 plus per square foot. Now, guys, do not get me wrong. Again, I'm not here to confuse you. Are they good buys even they are priced at $2,000 or $1,700 per square foot? You need to ask yourself, what are your needs? All right, because different projects or different needs will bring you to different locations. Now, what I'm trying to show you is a macro perspective of what are the price range. And we ask ourselves, if District 14, okay, being close to the city center, for me to price at $1,900 per square foot, similar to Sterling or even similar to J Gateway for that matter, is it fair? All right. I can tell you, even at that price itself, I would say that it's still I would still say that it's a safe entry at about $1,800 per square foot for District 14 property. Now, of course, I'm not just going to speculate. I'm just going to show you today. Park Esta was actually one of the comparison that I looked into when I did a District 14 comparative. You can see that the average of Park Esta, this is very attractive. Park Esta was launched, if I'm not wrong, November in 2018. To date, they have sold about 1,200 units out of 1,399 units. I think that is an impressive sales figure, considering that today, for that short amount of 1.5 years of time, they are able to sell this. Now, this is the contributing factor. The contributing factor is we put them side by side. Park Esta versus Sengkang Grand, which is an OCR property, Sterling Residences, Woodley Residences, and Park Place Residences. You can see that Park Esta is selling on average at $1,695 per square foot, which means that we have units going for as low as $1,600, $1,500 per square foot as well. So this actually means that today, you buying into Park Esta, a District 14 property, RCR property, way below the average of our RCR comparables, and even price below OCR property. So this is something that you all can tell. I mean, the numbers are there for all consumers to see. For me, I always look at numbers, and I think numbers itself is what can control our emotion and will allow us to make money from our property purchase as well. All right. So next thing that we are seeing, are we buying at the right entry price? I think this is something that we are comparing. Park Place Residence being at Paya Lebar. I want you to take note of this highest historical high in terms of PSF for 484 square feet unit. It's actually went up to as high as $2,200 per square foot. 2,282 per square foot. All right. So this is again a very crazy price. I mean, as long as people buy, you can say that it's crazy price. As long as people buy, it's not crazy anymore. So, but today at Park Esta, what are they doing for? Even in my historical high PSF is going for about 1,951 per square foot. Generally, if you ask me, I think that itself still puts me at a $300 or $200 plus per square foot margin difference between myself and Park Place, which is just one MRT stop down. All right, so these are some key considerations to look at when we are buying our property. All right, and I'm using Park Esta as an example to what we can look at. All right. So in D14 itself, I want to share with you, this is very exciting because a lot of time people tell you, hey, why you can buy, why it's a good buy. But many a times we forgot, hey, buying a property might be easier, for example. The key thing today here is, can we exit or do we have an exit plan? All right. Next few slides that I want to share with you is very, very interesting. High value HDB exit strategy. One thing that we want to look at, the blue area here. All right. The blue area that we are looking at, this is actually District 14 in a nutshell, just generally where we are. The orange color highlights, okay? Can you see that we are surrounded by this orange color highlights? Later on, I will tell you what are they. All right. So, just to make sure that all my consumers are still listening and still attentive to all of us, for those of you who want to make money, can you all type A into the chat? Anybody want to make money? Let's make money together. Into the chat itself. Very, very good. So what we are doing here today is that let's explore the possibility of a high value HDB exit strategy. When we look at this exit strategy, what are we looking at? Essentially, in District 14, we are surrounded by high value HDBs. And one thing that I want to show you is that you can see the bulk of my HDB flats in the Pine Coast region. These are where the old airport area is, the very famous old airport hawker center. In that area, we have a few clusters of HDB flats, and also we have a new upcoming BTO as well in that region. You can see that the flats in those areas are transacting 4-room flats as high as 700 over 1,000, 740, and my 5-room flats transaction of almost 800 over 1,000. And mind you, you can see the age here. They are 20 years old. They are 1998 flats. Why is this area still transacting at this kind of prices? Is because of the locality itself. And as much as it is, there are new BTOs that are coming up in that area. And you can imagine what kind of prices can those new BTO actually command. All right, so these are the these are the Pine Close, the Cassia Crescent property area. The next area that we want to look at is our Kallang HDB flats prices. Again, the Kallang HDB flats, those are near the Kallang MRT region. We can see that the 4-room flat, 5-room flats are hitting as high as 900,000. In fact, even 700 over 1,000 for our 4-room flat. So these are the high exit HDB flats in those areas. And guys, do not worry, ladies and gentlemen. Even though you might think that, hey, they are 2006, by then they still want to upgrade, man. You have to understand that in those areas, there are still new BTOs coming up, and there are still generally some clusters of BTO in that region. We have some in the Boon Keng MRT region. We have some actually right opposite Kallang MRT itself. There's a new cluster. I think they're about 2 years old or so. So these are new BTO clusters that generally will hit this kind of sky-high prices. And of course, this brings me to the most curious question: the $1 million HDB plan, $1 million HDB. Where are they located? We can see. I would say that we have City View at Boon Keng hitting that $1 million mark. We have the Peak at Toa Payoh hitting that $1 million mark, and we have Natura Loft at Bishan hitting that $1 million mark. All right. All in all, why am I sharing this with you? Because it will link me to the next location. All right, the next location is where it gets very, very interesting. Anyway, just for your information, ladies and gentlemen, I think this article has been trending on Mothership or something like that. HDB flat at Ang Mo Kio went for as high as 1.08 million. Prices for the HDB flat is quite crazy. But again, because it's a 6-room flat, I think it's a jumbo flat. So one thing that I want to share with you is the next location. So the next location that we are looking at is actually the Bedok Estate itself. So the question here is today, Bishan, we have Boon Keng, we also have Toa Payoh. All of them are very, very near Bidadari, and we know that Bidadari is going to be one of those key areas that will hit our $1 million HDB flat prices. All right. And I can tell you, the clusters that we are seeing in the Bidadari area is crazy. We have many clusters, many transformation. We can see that there are 6 neighborhoods altogether. Right at the bottom, we are seeing Park Edge, Woodley, Market Square, Alcove, Senett, and Bartley Heights. Those regions fall within the Bidadari transformation. And we can see 11,000 homes, including maybe 1,000 private units, which means that I have 10,000 group of upgraders looking to upgrade in future, or maybe even half of them will be more than enough, 5,000 group of upgraders. Now, why am I saying this and why is it important? Because today, let us look at the 4-room flats and the 5-room flats. You can see this cluster itself. Anyway, I'm just drawing this from one cluster of HDB. This is actually the Alcove BTO prices. 1,000 over units just in the Alcove BTO Bidadari area. The 4-room flat plus the 5-room flat is already going for an average of 550 up to 550 for a 4-room, and even up to a $681,000 for a 5-room flat. All right. So this itself, you can ask yourself, with this kind of high exit at $1 million, 900 over 1,000, that kind of returns as a HDB owner. All right. Generally, it pushes those HDB owners to be able to upgrade with ease and into the areas that we are looking at. And of course, D14 being surrounded by all this $1 million HDB or the high value HDB do stand a good advantage, because this is where this home upgraders will then upgrade into as well. All right. So Bidadari HDB, why is this a good thing for all of you, regardless of whether you decide to buy District 14 as a form of investment or as a form of own stay? One thing that you want to really look at is that there's a big pool of upgraders which will cater to my exit strategy. Most of them seated on a good profit margin, and this thing itself, I think, is in the market eligible for sell one, buy two. Some of them might sell their HDB and eventually buy two private properties. They have the ability to do so. And why I want to say this is because I want to remind you that for them to buy a 622,000 or 681,000 5-room flat, their income must be significantly high now because of MSR. So this actually means that this group of owners who are buying the flat now are already well-to-do, making significant income. And for them to eventually upgrade 5 to 8 years later, they will definitely have the income that is capable to then eventually upgrade into all these properties that we are looking at. All right. So next one that we want to see, it's transformation. I think in my previous consumer seminar, I have touched quite a bit on transformation. Why transformation is important. All right, this will bring me to my most important slide, which is actually supply and demand. So the first key area in District 14 that is going to transform is actually the Kallang River transformation. All right, what we can see, there are a few potential areas that they are transforming the Kallang River area. Number one is the Kallang District Park, which is our Geylang Bahru area, right behind the new Geylang Bahru Estate, or that older estate near the Geylang Bahru MRT station itself. They're transforming into a Kallang District Park itself, bringing life and bringing the industrial area there a good reformation that will actually bring in even more workforce into the area as well. And of course, our current Kallang Industrial Estate. This area generally falls within also our where is it, the Lavender area, where the city hub area is. This Kallang Basin area is also set to undergo major transformation, and that itself can bring about a big group of workers or big group of jobs being created in those areas as well. All right. Now, this is something that I think has been overly touched on, and consumers yourself, I think you all see this Paya Quarters transformation many times, but just let me bring you and recap quickly. This transformation again will bring about 10K of jobs in those areas itself. Now, as a consumer, I know today many agents will show you, hey, all this transformation, transformation means money you can make. Transformation means good. Now, I'm going to explain to you how does all this transformation translate to your advantage. Because transformation itself, right, brings about a good job catchment. And this will bring in quite a number of workers or quite a number of employments into those areas. Now, how will it translate? All right, looking into District 14, we look at this key thing called a supply and demand. All right, so in supply and demand in District 14 itself, what are we essentially comparing? All right, I'm just going to give you an overall broad picture of District 19, for example. Just focus on a few things. I just want you to focus on the amount of new sale. You can see that they have 26,452 new sale done in District 19. Average price growth of about 118%. All right, so people who bought District 19, yours still generally will make money, all right? Because District 19 has quite a big number of new launches in the area that constitutes to the new sale as well. But you can see good growth above 100%, 118% to be exact, all right? So this itself, if you see my comparative, I did a comparative from January 2010 to currently April 2020, all right? And we are seeing this kind of returns. Now, if I want to compare District 14, I have to bring about District 3, all right, which is also something very similar to District 14, close to CBD itself. I want you to take a notice of the new sale itself. That's 6,570 new sale done, an average of about 185% growth rate for District 3. Again, to buy into District 3, you see the comparative that I'm using is the same parameters. District 3, generally, they are in the range currently about 1,800 plus, 1,900 plus per square foot also. But yet, they also stand to make money because if you notice, the new sale they have is generally lower, which means that the supply of private properties or the supply of newer properties in this area is lower. In 10 years, if it's 6,005, which means that per year, I only have about 650 units that were being sold or being launched. All right, so that is something to really take note of as well. And of course, I think the key area here that we want to touch on is District 14. In the last 10 years trend, I think this is very, very exciting. What we are seeing now, same thing, I'm using parameters from January 2010 to May 2020. We only have 4,762 new sales in the last 10 years. And this gives me an average price growth of the last 10 years of a 242% price growth in that region. All right. District 14 is very, very different, very, very special. We can see that to find big projects in District 14, I can tell you very rare we are able to find that. There are many, many smaller properties, freehold properties in that area. Generally, are they doing as well? May or may not. But the ones that are doing well are actually the bigger developments in the area as well. And one thing that I want to show you next is this. All right. Can you see the price movement in District 14? This is Central Grove and this is Sims View. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, this is both are 99 years and they are launched at 1996. All right. From then till now, you can see that they have dropped in price, they have increased in price. But what is curious is actually in year 2014, those people who have bought, or even in year 2015, those who have bought, till date, you can see even in year 2020, the price have grown for resale property that is past 20 over years. One thing is for certain. People who wants to buy into District 14, they are demand. People wants to buy the District 14, but are there enough units to supply to this group of people? Generally, I would say not many. Hence, the prices also pick up. All right. Hence, the resale prices also pick up and people are buying into those areas as well. All right. Key thing to take note of, Grove, Central Grove, Sims View, both of them are definitely way past 20 over years. From here on out, I cannot predict what are the prices going to be for this resale property. But in general, for our newer launches such as Sims Urban Oasis, this is at our Sims Avenue. Walking distance to Aljunied MRT, you can see that in July itself, 2015, those of them who bought, from then till now, the price have increased quite significantly, hitting to even as high as past 1,700 plus per square foot in 2019, and currently selling on average maybe about 1,600 plus per square foot as well. Most owners make significant amount of money. All right. And the next one that I want to show you, this one is a little bit different. This is Trey Residence. There's only 2 transactions. The other one is a 1-bedroom. I think this will be more accurate because this one bought in 2017. All right. And in 2017 that they bought, right, they exited this property, 3 years of holding, bought at 1,434 per square foot in 2017. So during the COVID period, in April 2020 for 1,715 per square foot. All right, this gives that owner that profit margin of almost 200,000. All right, in 3 years. So in the current COVID situation, this is the pricing. And why people are buying? All right, generally because like what I shared earlier on, the demand is there, the supply is not enough. All right, so the newer launches in those areas, I can share this with you. Currently, what are the launches that we are looking at in those areas? Park Esther, we have Antares, we have Urban Treasures, and we have upcoming one more launch in District 14. I think many of you are looking forward to it. I think many of the agents have also shared this with you. It's also Penrose. We are officially appointed. Again, whatever information that you are seeing on the outside, this information are not accurate. Speak to any of our PropNex agents or PropNex consultants. Any point of time when the developers release any information to us, we will be releasing all this to the agents and they will then be releasing this to the consumers itself. So this is something that is something to look forward to in District 14. That's why I'm sharing all this with you is because the potential of District 14, I can tell you, the supply and demand itself, it's key thing to take note of when we are already looking into this property. It causes resale prices of 20 over years old to still see significant increase, at least a $200 per square foot increase from those who bought in 2015 as well. So this is something that it's attractive in District 14, because for big scale developments, we are not really there isn't really many of this in District 14. So that's why Park Esta is moving well. I would say that even, for example, Antares eventually, yes, currently Antares is in Mata area. Urban Treasures has a freehold property in the area. Upcoming currently, if let's say you are still looking to District 14, but you want a freehold property, all right, you may speak to our PropNex agents to look into properties like Tetch, which is a District 14 freehold property. Upcoming, there's another launch in the Old Airport region called Noma. I think this is along Guillemard area as well. So these are the few launches that are going to come up that will then be very interesting for many of the consumers for you to consider and for you to look at as well. All right. So to sum it up, right, basically, if you look at this newspaper article, why delayed gratification? One thing that I want to share with you earlier on about the 先甜后苦或者先苦后甜. All right, again, I think going through this experience, I would say that I would personally like to be working hard now and enjoying the fruits of my labor later on. And I think this is something key that I have shared with many, many buyers, many, many agents. I think this article sums it up perfectly. Start from something you can afford. All right. Along the way, as you save, aim to upgrade when you have more savings. I think this is something very, very true. Many a times I spoke to owners who have missed the opportunity. It's because they feel that, hey, I don't want to buy a 1-bedroom. I want to save to buy a 2-bedroom. But by the time you save enough to buy a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, you realize one thing. The prices have moved. The money that you have saved is enough for you to only buy a 1-bedroom at that point of time. So never save for a property. What I would always suggest is buy a property and then start saving with that property itself. All right. So set it as a target, which will make us more financially prudent to achieve this home goal. Again, buying a property or investment in property, it's nothing speculative. It's always planned out. So always make sure that the agents that you are speaking to is planning with you. One thing that I think most PropNex agents, they are very, very inclined to do, I think many a times if you have spoken to us, you are never buying a product from us. I think that's something that I want to share. You're never buying a product from us. You're always buying a plan with us. All right. So this itself will then put a target so that we can achieve it together. And sometimes because as we wait, the dream home grows even more out of reach due to inflation. I think this is something very, very true. And everybody, when we look at this article, we will always remind ourselves, wow, I missed the opportunity. Oh, 想当年, or wow, if I early know that this is going to happen, I would have done it. This is something that I've heard many a times. And today, I do not want any consumers here in the session to have this kind of missed opportunities. All right. So with that being said, again, like I shared with you all the upcoming launches or all the current launches, speak to any one of our PropNex consultants to see whether which of these launches will suit you well, or even the resale properties. Don't get us wrong. We are not here to push any new launches again. Regardless whether it's a new launch or regardless whether it's a resale property, I think most importantly, we must know what are your needs before we can plan properly for you. All right. So I'm going to leave you with this. Never save to buy a property, buy property to save. All right. So this is something that I shared earlier on. And I think every one of us can see from my graph that today the prices will always grow. And whatever it is, the one thing that never grow is our income. So if you are employed, you realize that the property prices grow, everything else grows, chicken rice also grow, but our income never grow. So that is something that we want to make sure that today we are growing your wealth, we are growing your assets. All right. So maybe we can have some time. I think now is about 9:04. We have some time to actually answer some Q&A. Eddie, is there any Q&A that you want me to answer? Any questions that you want me to answer?
Hi, Brian. I think a good session today. There's some questions going on because you show about the Sims View. They're asking if, let's say, in a scenario whereby the resale properties in the area is going at a lower price, will over time the new launch property price be put down?
Okay, I think that's a very, very good question. Because when I do this, right, you have to understand that no matter how it grows, right, it's still keeping in that range of $1,000 odd dollars per square foot. It never exceeded that $1,200-$1,300 mark. Generally, because no matter what happens, an older property, when faced with age decay, the prices will definitely still maintain at a certain saturation, or it will drop further. To push it to 1,000, 2,003 at that kind of age, I personally don't think that it will achieve so. And with that being said, you look at Sims Urban Oasis, something that is very, very near to Sims View as well. The prices are still moving upwards, even though when Sims View was going at below $1,000 per square foot, buyers who bought, maybe I go back and see the slide. Hold on, let me show you. Here. Okay, let me share the screen again. Sorry. All right, so if you are looking at the slides itself, right, you realize that even in 2015, when the prices of Sims Urban Oasis was going for an average of 1,003, 1,004, people are still buying. And these owners, right, who bought at that point of time are not worried, because if I go back to my slide again, let's move back. And you see that in 2015 itself, Sims View was selling only at $800 per square foot. All right. But generally, right, you can see that in terms of increment, they are about the same. They still hit about 1,007 high, 1,006, and people are still buying. But personally, for me, why I will still go for a newer property is because I do not want to be faced in a situation whereby the age decay will affect my pricing. Currently, if I'm going to buy in at $1,000, $1,001 per square foot into Sims View or Central Grove, will I be put in a scenario that the price might drop? I might be, because of the age. I think that's the number one key thing that we want to look at when we are exploring this kind of properties. So generally, I would still buy into District 14, something newer, especially maybe slightly lesser than 10 years or even a newer launcher. So it really depends. All right, I hope that answers the question. Eddie?
Thank you, Brian, for sharing this. So another question they were asking, right? One of the owner, he's saying, "Hey, I'm owning a HDB right now. I'm going to buy another property." He's decided on buying, so he's asking this question: with the ABSD at 7% more for him, I don't know what his background is or what citizenship he is. He didn't mention. Could be a PR, could be a Singaporean, but so I cannot advise whether the ABSD is correct. Just for everybody to know that for a citizen owning a HDB and a PR owning a HDB, the ABSD is different. So he's saying that, hey, I want to keep my HDB and pay ABSD. Is it worth?
Okay, so generally, if you are buying a property, when you are buying this kind of property, you have to understand. My advice for clients who are paying ABSD and still jump into today's market, it's still possible to do so. Generally, the ABSD that we are looking at for second property, I think is past 10% already. So there you won't be a scenario whereby we are paying 7%. But even though paying for this ABSD, does it make sense? All right, then we have to employ a different strategy. We have to merge different strategies together. We have to buy probably a new launch early in the launch, whereby we get good capital appreciation over time. But now this holding of this period of holding might stretch up to 8 years to 10 years. All right, what am I going to do during this duration? I'm going to actually get it rented out, and using the risk analysis management system, which is the RAM system, I think many of our PropNex agents, they are able to do this for you. To do the rental over the next 10 years, it can cover your ABSD, or it can help to break even your ABSD. And even when you sell during that point of time, it will generate that positive capital appreciation over that 10 years. So it's a little bit different. You have to look at it differently, and you have to understand that no matter how, you won't be in an advantage whereby today you go and buy an OCR property and you pay ABSD. Will it be worth it? It might not be. Generally, if you are paying for ABSD, where I would suggest my homeowners to look at is the RCR region, because the rental is good. If not, if they can afford to go into the CCR region, because this will put them at an even playing field with many foreigners. There's many multiple property owners in that region that will put you at a price advantage when you enter the market. Okay?
Thank you, Bryan, for sharing that. So next thing they're asking, hey, Central Grove and Simsview, for example, some of the older properties, right? The per square feet is so low. What do you think about their potential for en bloc?
Wow, I think many people throw me this kind of question. When it comes to en bloc, right? Personally, I'm not a fan of gambling. That means to jump into gambling for such a big property purchase, right? I think you have to ask yourself this question. If let's say you think that there is a potential for en bloc, all right, and you want to jump into this property, I think my question to you is very simple. If let's say today this property doesn't go for en bloc, can you foresee yourself staying in that property for the next 20 to 30 years, possibly without any potential upside? So again, it's a risk. Again, it's a gamble. When it comes to en bloc, it's not something that I can 100% say that this will happen, because it constitutes a lot of factors. It's not only whether the developers are willing to buy. Sometimes within the development, the owners are not willing to sell. So that is a big risk that I don't want to put myself in.
Thank you, Bryan, for sharing that. I mean, in a nutshell, Bryan is also saying is that you look at per square feet, but the calculation for en bloc is not as simple as that. We need to calculate the top-up lease for the land, redevelopment costs, and then main thing, is there any extra plot ratio whereby the developers can tear down and rebuild more units to replace to get profits? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for a developer to pay hundreds of millions of dollars upfront and then not have a decent profit margin. I mean, it's too risky a business for the developer to go in. So there are many more things that needs to be considered as well. So the next question coming in, let me see from the chat box, because for most of the Q&A are answered. I think there was a question asking if they have the HDB as the first property and they do an ownership transfer to avoid ABSD on second property. Will it be possible? I mean, this one is quite simple. Maybe Bryan has just answered for you that today, right, if you are between a husband and wife, you're not able to transfer between one another anymore because HDB have clamped down on this. Yes, you are able to transfer to your parents, subjected to that they have no HDB holding on hand. But actually, we come from a backdrop that most of our parents own a property in Singapore today. But main thing is that, you see, there are more things to consider. If you transfer to your parents and if you have siblings, will you have additional attention to the issue itself? I do not know. I'll leave it to you to decide. So, okay, Bryan.
Sorry, Eddie, you're breaking up. Anyway, looking at your question again, right? Generally, I would say that if your HDB are probably as of a certain age, right, you have to consider factors about the decay of age of property, number one. Number two, you have to look at the accrued interest. That is something that is very, very subjective because we do not know how much you have utilized. And if it comes to a point whereby your accrued interest plus CPF refundable exceeds your sales price, I think that is where it gets very dangerous. I think that is something that if I were to touch on it, is a whole different session altogether. But generally, if you ask me, I would think that to sell the HDB, move on to purchasing one for investment, one for own stay would be a more ideal scenario. But again, it depends on your situation. I do not have your portfolio. I do not know what is actually going on. Do speak to do speak to the agents that invited you to this seminar, and then probably they will get a better understanding of what you're facing. All right.
Thank you, Bryan. Yeah, do speak to the PropNex consultant that invited you so that you have a clearer picture. Actually, the question that we wanted to ask, or maybe you should ask yourself, is that the reason why you're holding on. There must be a reason to it, and then you justify it against whatever needs you're trying to move forward to. So maybe the one of the last question that we're going to take tonight is, hey, Bryan, looking at the current economic outlook, rental seems to be compressed. So since most of the property value that they known in the past is that property value is is pegged to rental. If rental is not going to go up, how will price go up?
I think when you want to look at this, especially if you are talking about rental, yes, the prices are pegged now. And I think personally, right, it's about how greedy we are as a landlord. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but it's not going to be a long-term effect. Rental has always been trending, meaning to say that there are times where the rental prices drop. There will also be time that the rental prices pick up. So if I were to average out, right, no matter what happens, currently, if as a landlord, I need to advise my, if I have a landlord client that I need to advise, I will tell them to take the whatever offer that comes in now. All right, even though it's being packed down, it's not going to last for the next 10 years, definitely. At least in the next 1-2 years, when the prices adjusted itself, when the economy gets better, same thing. The property itself, in terms of the rental, will also have increased in price when more workers are coming into Singapore again. So generally, if you ask me whether or not it's a big concern, I wouldn't think so. But I think one keynote to take note of, especially in District 14, I think just an example, right? A one bedroom, if let's say I were to use Paya Lebar quarters or even Katong Regency, I can even go up to the OCR in Bedok Residence. A one bedroom is going for easily 2.5, 2.6, whereby market itself on average is going for about 1,008, 1,009. So this itself, I would think that at this kind of price entry for rental, and people are still renting, even in the current COVID situation, if you were to look at the transaction, it's generally quite healthy for a one bedroom. I think I've seen like 2,008, 3,002 for one bedroom at PLQ. I'm not very sure. I need to go back and check. But in general, in a nutshell, in District 14, if you are buying, it has one of the highest rental yield, number one. Number two, it is one of the fastest turnover in terms of rental as well. So this is something to take note of when we are looking out for property.
Thank you, Bryan, for answering this question so well. Actually, most of the question here that we see on the Every Night webinar is that we are talking about economic outlook. Is this the good time? I think if you have followed us for the past 51 webinars, every time you see all the charts, even Bryan showed a lot of statistic and chart today. If we can stop looking at just one point of time, which is just looking at our feet, we look ahead at the future, you see how does everything progress. You see all the chart, right? It's all moving upwards because cost of living will always go up. But main thing is that the speed of growth may not meet the speed of appreciation. So you need to select the right property and see which one grow in the right direction for you. Then the next thing you see, definitely property market is a cycle. Sometimes it will have corrections. You've seen in some of the chart that Bryan showed you, we do not hide. Sometimes there's correction. But main thing, if you have done the RAM system, RAM, if you have holding power, can I just ask everyone not to sell at the wrong time anymore? Sometimes why do we sell at the wrong time? It's because we fear, just like now, during COVID, if we fear and we throw, definitely, if people that did not prepare for a reserve fund, they may be in for a bad ride. So main thing, before we embark on the journey, speak to your PropNex consultant, go through the RAM system, feel absolutely safe before you start anything is our message for today. So tomorrow will always come, just like what Bryan said. That's why I'm very intrigued by the topic that Bryan put out for tonight. Plan today for your tomorrow. Tomorrow will always come. So what is your thoughts for today? After listening for Bryan for the 1+1.5 hours, Bryan, I think it's a very good webinar, good session tonight. Any parting words before we wrap it up?
I would like to actually share this. I think every one of us is going through this together. All of us are beat back down to equal. There isn't, everybody is going through this together, definitely. But one thing is for certain, I think speaking to so many homeowners during this period of time, I think one thing is definitely for certain. Many of them have not thought about how they can retire comfortably. And most importantly, I think many of these owners are stuck in a situation whereby they dare not move forward. So as long as what we plan for you and what you have in mind, it's correct and you have the proper holding power, like what Eddie has said, you have to plan much, much further ahead. Plan for a retirement, plan for the ability to live without without having support from your kids and things like that, and without having to work all the way to your 70 over years old. I think that is important, and that's the parting message that I do want to share with the consumers today, is that today, as long as you are planning for your future, you know how to exit your property purchases, you know how to move forward with your property purchases. I believe in the next 10 to 20 over years, you will definitely gain quite a bit from property purchases and property investment. All right, so do speak to any one of our agents. I believe very strongly that they can help you because they have undergone many trainings, and especially the RAM system, which is something that PropNex has came up with. This is to really safeguard your interest and to make sure that you have enough reserve fund to last you before you make any decisions. All right.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you, everyone, especially my group of panelists working so hard to answer all the questions itself. Wishing everybody a good evening, and then we see you very soon. Tonight, just drop a text message to the consultant that invited you. Say you want to go through analysis. Do your defensive measure before you even think of buying. Okay, good evening, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you all very soon. Wishing you all a blessed night.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.